and I'll let you.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this Taurus technology session. I wanted to explain a little bit about what we're up to here and the reasons for it. I'm particularly glad that we're doing this because we've been researching circular meetings or donut type meetings. They call it Taurus, which is a donut shape. We've been doing that for 5 or 7 years already, and getting more and more positive results as we develop our tools and our skills. And so we're very happy to have this chance to demonstrate some of the things that are possible in a circle, because most of us have been born and raised in a culture that if you bring people together, automatically organizes the meeting in a rectangle, usually around a table, where it becomes obvious who the leader, quote unquote, leader of the space is. This is a hierarchical meeting form, and it's a pyramid meeting form where the ones at the top of the pyramid are the power holders and other people are merely participants. And oftentimes, even in those kinds of meetings, if any decision is to be made, it's already been made even before the meeting starts. So any contributions from people lower down on the pyramid are like political. It's there for a social. It's like a pretend way of including people in a meeting when you're just basically announcing what the decisions already are, and everybody else is to obey. So this is a standard meeting format that follows the Robert's Rules of Order and political and what's it called? No, the Senate and the what are the parliamentary procedure, follows parliamentary procedure as a way of deciding who speaks next, how long they get to speak, how you signal people. The whole language of parliamentary procedure is hidden behind any kind of a hierarchical meeting format, even used these days by non-government organizations. So we've been born and raised in these pyramidal meeting structures, and we're and the shift from a pyramid to a circle is a transformational process. It's like you're starting with this design of a huge amount of group intelligence out here, but it's completely unavailable due to the power structure, and the shift into a circle where, in fact, there's the leadership is more of a research. It's like all on the outside of the circle, where the group intelligence of everybody involved is desired and needed, and the quality of the decision making uses different formats. And also, for example, I'll just throw out a couple of things, but for example, in a circular meeting, problems are valued as potential doorways to invention or to new possibility. Whereas in a pyramidal structure, a problem is regarded as a conflict, some kind of conflict that has to be resolved with peacekeepers or some kind of negotiation, so that who wins wins and who loses loses. And if you use a majority vote, then you can have up to 49% losers. Whereas in circular decision making and circular processes, you can continue to negotiate the outcome until basically everybody wins, so that a bright principle is called into the space called winning happening. And so much more is possible in terms of intelligence, resources, and creativity and invention and nonlinear possibilities than in a traditional hierarchical competitive meeting environment. So we're happy to demonstrate this because a number of you are out there in circular organizations, but the technology that we're offering, we have we've started to put it on a website called taurustechnology.org, and it has some hints about. We're still building it out, but have some pretty good hints about experiments that you can try in your meetings. There's things called the purple card, or the poop on the table process, or the frying pan, or the walk process. And all of these are new meeting technologies that function fantastically in a circular environment. And we're just so happy to have a chance. I wanted everybody to know that the meeting that we're about to have is completely unrehearsed. So, and that there's two ways to do this. So one way is like in a private meeting. So for us, for the 5 screens that are on the screen right now, you can imagine that nobody else is hearing what we're talking about, because it's just private little meeting of us 6 people on these 5 screens. But in fact, there's this huge circle side of us who in various forms of circular meeting technology are just as active and just as participatory as the 5 of us who are in the middle now. So I want to be clear that we're not using a fishbowl format. That is not what we're using. That comes from a different meeting technology that I'm actually not so familiar with. We're going to start out. I propose we start out in more of a what's called a wok process. The wok is like a round frying pan that's rounded, and so what's happened is we've all jumped into this wok together, this big kind of round frying pan, and there's 3 space holders in here. There doesn't have to be 3 space holders, but Chloe and Vera and myself have some experience with the wok process and these other processes. So we're here to hold the space for an extraordinary kind of conversation to happen between Eva and Nuno and Ben, who in this case are together. They're together through this because they've built a game world. I'm going to use the word game world. And a game world is just the way human beings interact. In any particular way that human beings interact, we do it through a game world that we build up, and then we agree upon certain characteristics of the game world. For example, we agree upon the context of the game world, what the purpose is, what the rules of engagement of the game world are. And there's a lot to learn about game worlds also. We have a website called gameworldbuilder.org, which is out there that you can use also to access that. So we'll put the resources in the talk panel on the side later on. Good. So to begin with, I've never really met even Nuno or Ben before. I've had an interview conversation with Nuno, which was an interview space, but I didn't get to ask him any personal questions really about what's up for him. So what I'm proposing, unless you guys have another idea, is that the 3 space holders hold the space for Eva and Nuno and Ben to have a quick kind of check-in of a particular sort with regards to and I'm going to say the purpose of this conversation is that as you're developing the conflict resolution conference, the next global conflict resolution conference, number 2, that you can use what you've been learning from this first one that you've built together as a way of rapid learning. That means of learning from your mistakes, learning from opportunities, learning from insights and revelations like these, and to share about that. So one of the most effective and efficient ways to do that is for each one of you, one at a time, to simply say, with regards to working together as this core team of the conflict resolution conference, would you please tell us what you're angry about in terms of how the interactions have been going, what you're sad about, like what's touched you, what's made you sad, what you're afraid of, the things that you can't figure out, the things that haven't been answered the questions that have been left under the table, the things that have been left unspoken about, those things you're afraid of that have been unsaid yet that you haven't been able to speak about, or some of the others haven't been able to speak about, but are like smelling. They're beginning to stink because they're under the table, kind of stinking away. This is the time to bring those things out and what you're glad about. All four of those. So would one of you like to start? I'll take that as a yes. So the one who shrugs their shoulders, they go first. That would be Eva. So could you please go ahead? Make sure your microphone is on.
I didn't know that rule.
There aren't actually very many rules. We're listening.
Sad, angry, frightened, glad. In that order? Or can I choose my order?
We have a website called fourfeelings.mystrikingly.com, and there's a lot of information on for anybody in the outer circle who'd like more information about that. Yes, angry, sad, glad, scared, no particular order.
No particular order. Well, I want to start with glad, because it's the easiest one. So I've really enjoyed working with Nuno and Ben on this. I find them both.
So hold on. Excuse me. I'm going to do some coaching as we go along. One is, I just noticed because it's a new territory for you. It seems to be a new territory for you that you just can develop way more skills with this, with just a little practice. So you don't have to go off into some really strange territory called feelings. You can actually live more in that territory as a resource for this. And I'd like us to have the conversation where you're actually talking to them personally. Nuno, you, Ben, you, really like you make me, or I feel, or this is, and then let's just go ahead. So try to pretend like this is a very safe space, which it is. And you're doing great. Just keep going. Thank you for allowing me. Yep.
I just want to, it might help to say, I feel. To start the sentence with, I feel glad because, and then let your joy speak.
You might not know what you're going to say at that.
Cool. Thank you. Nuno and Ben, I feel really glad to be working with you two for many reasons. And the ones that come to mind right now are to do with, okay, Nuno, your warmth on accessibility, your dedication to the job, your real depth of commitment to making this a really deep and as safe as possible and well-held process. And your ridiculous capacity for work, which also worries me a bit, but it's pretty convenient for me that you're willing to work so hard.
When I do this, I'm just going to add in little jewel things, some little distinctions, okay? Which you said Nuno's ridiculous capacity for work, you said that worries me a bit. Which of the four feelings is worry?
What do you mean? Sorry. Which of the
four feelings?
Frightened.
Sadness,
so good. No, that's sad. That's sad.
Worried? You're sad that he has a ridiculous capacity to work, and you're sad about that.
Yeah. I'm both glad and sad.
She's sad because?
I'm sad because I think that it's not good for Nuno to work so hard.
And if he works so hard, what might happen?
well, all kinds of things. He would get very tired. He would feel bad. He might burn out. I've, yeah. There's lots of.
So I'm just suggesting that actually what feeling with the word worry is the same as the word fear,
Mm,
and that you're actually afraid he might burn out, or afraid, these things might happen to him. He might get sick, whatever. So,
yeah,
so that worry would be fear.
yeah. It's a complex one.
Look,
because, yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm
Okay.
just looking at how much time we have, and
Yeah,
for the demonstration. So you're
yeah.
doing really fantastic. I would actually switch. Do you have any? How are we going to do this?
Well, I would just hear maybe what she's angry about, because
Okay.
you said afraid and glad and sad, and to hear one thing about what you're angry about to work with Ben and Nuno.
Okay. Okay.
While you're thinking,
why am I?
while you are thinking, I
Yeah.
want to inform everybody that we're using different thoughtware. Circular meeting technology uses different thoughtware, the kinds of things that you think with, than patriarchal pyramid meetings. So one of the thoughtware that we use is that there are 4 feelings and they're neutral. There are no negative feelings or positive feelings. There's no bad feelings or good feelings. There's 4 kinds of information that the meeting needs, all 4, from everybody. And so it's just an upgrade, a change in the thoughtware that you use to regard, hey, they're begging for me to talk what I'm angry about, because that's where I have juice to change something. That's where I'm going to take a stand and make a difference and commit to something. I'm going to commit to something because I'm angry about it. So everybody needs that from you, and we all need your fear, and we need your sadness. It's a fantastic resource. So I'm just letting everybody know that you're not entering the territory of negative feelings when you say bad. It means angry. Yeah. It's just we need that. That's what I'm. So thank you.
Okay. So I feel angry that we didn't have the time and didn't take the time to think more in advance about how we work together. So it's been very chaotic and some intuitive slash chaotic how we found a way to work together. And I think that there's lots of things that we could have done better if we had or made the time to do that.
Would you be willing to say one of those things you could have done better?
We have no structure for decision making.
Great. Cool. Yeah, thank you. So ordinarily, we would have a little more time, and we would love to dive into a few other anger things and the sadness and the rest. And so, so good. But right now, in the interest of time, we're just going to jump to the other 2 guys, and we'll come back around. Okay, Eva? Thank you.
Who would like to go next? That's a yes.
I can go, yeah. I can go. I have no clue what I'm going to say, so I feel sad.
Nuno, I'm just gonna pause you for a second. Nuno, I'm gonna pause you for a second. When you started to say I feel, and you looked up and you went into your mind and you're looking at your notes. So I would encourage you to sink down in your heart, because feelings are not in the mind, they're actually in the heart, and it's a different intelligence.
Okay, thank you, Anne-Chloé. So I feel sad that we don't have time, and we didn't allocate time to really talk through many things in a way that is supportive to each one of us. Also acknowledging that none of us met physically yet, so we just met virtually, and I feel angry that sometimes there's this sense that I'm very perfectionist about things, and sometimes I feel that either Ben or Eva might not be so minutious on looking at little details, and then I have to sort them, or I kind of feel responsible for that, so that makes me angry. I feel afraid of sometimes not being able to express properly where I am and what am I feeling in a way that is conducive to be received in a constructive way. And I feel immense joy and happiness for having the chance to do this work together with both Ben and Eva, who I find wonderful human beings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Go ahead, Ben.
He ran away.
Which feeling is that?
I just want to say, Anne-Chloé and Vera have been doing spaces for anger or spaces for experiencing and expressing feelings in a meeting format and as a resource for creating results as a positive. And so they'll have 70 people sign up for attending, and then at the last minute, 30 of them go do something else. And so it's really this thing that we're just not accustomed to having the feelings. And the closer you get to D-Day, this moment where you're actually going to have to be present with your feelings, it's like, something coming up. I have to go I have to water the dog. I have to wash my car, something like that. Okay, Ben.
Yes. I am so glad to be working with you both, Nuno and Eva, and it just feels like a huge gift to have been able to step in to a structure that you had already worked so hard to create and frame, and this beautiful language and website and all of the amazing speakers. I mean, I've had a hand in things since I came along, but I really feel like I've been gifted by you with an opportunity to come into a sort of space that I love to play in as a co-host and facilitator. I have some fears. I'm afraid sometimes, because I really, I mean, Eva, you talked about how we don't have a sort of a decision-making process that we've decided on, but my sense is the unspoken process is essentially, when push comes to shove, I will defer to you, because I see you holding the vision of this and doing more work probably than either of the other of us. I can't speak total certainty for you, Eva, but I see you nodding, and so I'm okay with that. But I have fears around how we navigate that sometimes, and I know there've been times when I have opinions and they're strongly held sometimes, and I can push for them, and I can get impatient if I feel like I'm not being heard, or people are repeating things or taking a long time to say something, and I got it, in the first 2 minutes, and now it's 3, 4, 5 minutes later, and I want to just, get on with it and just make sure what I've said is clear. And if we're going with that, great. And if we're not going with that, at least it was on the table. But I think that process has been, sticky at times, and so I sometimes feel afraid to be too assertive. around that. I don't think I'm angry about anything. I really don't. I mean, there's things in the domain of that sort of frustration, irritation. It feels so minor that I would not assign the word angry to it.
But I will pause you.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple coaching. When you put your hands like this, it is a very efficient way to put your center in your mind and to block your feeling. Those are 5 blocks for actually feeling what you're feeling and feeling what other people are feeling. In the second coaching, so you can just put them on your legs or on the chair. And irritation and frustration is low intensity anger.
Right.
And even low intensity feelings, even between 0 and 10%. So we can experience and express anger, sadness, fear, and joy between 0 and 100. It cannot be bigger than 100. But the feelings between 0 and 10% have so much intelligence for our life. So in irritation and frustration are low intensity anger, and they have jewels and keys. So I would really invite you to share them and say they are low intensity anger. And that's what I feel angry about.
Yeah, I think I was sort of implying that in what I said, but maybe it's just a semantic difference. Yeah, I mean, the things that I'm irritated about, I mentioned, for example, that I have a style where I want more of kind of a rapid back and forth, and I can get impatient, particularly with you, Nuno, if you're taking a very long, what feels to me like a very long time to say something, or repeating something, and I'm comfortable with interruptions, and I have a sense that doesn't, that's a stylistic difference. For some people are good with that, and some are not. So I'm kind of, I don't know where I would place a stuck feeling, in terms of how to deal with that sometimes. I want to interrupt, but I'm afraid to interrupt, and I'm irritated that you're going on. And I don't feel like I have a good tool to address that. So I just defer and I listen, and, it's like basically you've probably made up your mind on this thing, and that's why this is my story about it. So, I go with that, but I feel irritation, because I'm not always sure that the process, either that we fully, we had time to go through all the dimensions of the decision, or that it just took so long to get there, because maybe we could have gotten there more quickly. I'm afraid, Eva, that you aren't getting enough space in this triad. And I know you've said something to that effect, and Nuno and I have noticed that, and so that's a concern I have. I'm sad because I'm concerned, Nuno, that you're putting so much into this that it is taking a toll on you personally, in some ways, and yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ben and Nuno. And I would propose that we even use, Ben, your fear to go back to Eva and just say, now that we're kind of more in a little bit of a flow. I just want to say that in a traditional circular meeting of skilled people, this has taken us 35 minutes to get to this point. It would have been over in less than 7 or 8 minutes. It would have been this little first coming together in the Mad Sag Vlad Scared. What's happening? What's up? What are the doorways? Would be handled in the first less than 10 minutes. So it's just we're just coming in a side door, offering new possibilities. It takes some skill building. You guys are fantastic. And Eva, let's go back to you and just see if you've got anything else cooking now that we've started the ball rolling. Is that okay?
Yes. And I'm aware that it will take me some time to become skilled in this. My skill is to shut up and hide my feelings. Very good at that. So it's a big ask to state them.
Well, transformation of the world is a big ask.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you guys taking a stand for that. So that's what it takes. You can do this. You're doing great.
Okay. So frustrations, I certainly resonated with Ben's frustration that Nuno sometimes takes a long time to say things, and I can often find myself sitting and waiting for quite a long time with that feeling of, yeah, I've got it, yeah, but yeah. Sadness, I guess, might be for me, in it being very clear to me how I continue to struggle. This is an ongoing struggle for me to claim space and to speak up. And
Eva, I'm just, I'm in some computer somewhere in the world, and I can still hear this feeling that just came up in you. And it's around 18% big. It's only possible for a feeling to get 100% big, and you're sitting at 18% big of a feeling. Do you know which one it is? It's hard for me to claim space. That's what you said. Yeah, that one. What feeling is that?
It's frustration and I don't know how to do this, and
Eva, if you close your eyes, and resist the temptation of smiling, just close your eyes. Yeah, just do that. Yeah, close your eyes and listen to yourself say, it's hard for me to take space. And if you say it out loud, and then the feeling will come. Yeah.
It's hard for me to take space.
Yeah. Yeah. What just came up for you?
So it's very sad and frustrated.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And also to offer a hint, there's many people who have this. There's almost an unconscious tendency to smile, and what happens is most of the times that smile just blocks the feeling, blocks not just to other people, but blocks the access of that feeling to ourselves. So just to notice when there's a tendency in that you might be blocking it.
In a circular meeting, when people come together and make a safe space, there's two kinds of things that can happen. One is a feeling comes up, which is a present time anger, sad, fear, joy. It's a creation force, want to change something, stop something, open something, connect in a different way, celebrate something. This is the feelings. There's a very different thing called an emotion, which does not come from the present. It comes from something incomplete from the past, for example. It comes from an organization or a family or a belief, a dogma. It comes from an external authority.
You are frozen, Clinton and Anne-Chloé.
And
can you repeat that?
I'm going to stop their video. That might help. Of course, we won't see them. But
yeah.
Their bandwidth has been low.
Yeah.
Vera, do you want to pick up on that?
Yeah. The feelings and the emotions. So what Clinton was saying, that you might be feeling something that it's like anger. It feels exactly like anger, but it's not a feeling. We distinguish them. We call them emotions. Emotions are from the past or from someone else, whereas feelings are from the right now. So if something is happening in the moment that arises in you a feeling, usually what happens is that you feel the feeling. It lasts about 3-5 minutes. You can do something about it or not do something about it, but you recognize this feeling and the feeling goes away. It just disappears. There's other things that happen. But sometimes after 3-5 minutes, that feeling stays. It persists in our system. It sometimes persists for half an hour, until after the meeting, until like the next day. And what happens is that feeling had nothing to do with that present. It had to do with a past event. So one of the great distinctions is just the length of time. You will know what if you are feeling a feeling or an emotion because it will take longer. And so feelings would be for dealing, they're for dealing with things in the present moment. And you can deal with them and then the feeling goes away. But emotions, if you know that you're having an emotion, you can stop what you're doing. And you can write down, you can realize and say to the other person, I'm sorry, I need to stop this. I am having an emotion. It has nothing to do with you, has nothing to do with this. And I'm going to take about 20 minutes, or if it's very intense, I can take 20 minutes and then come back and I'm going to be more present. Or even if you are in a possibility village or in a context that you have support, you can there's actually some eco-villages that uses these processes. You can be taken for a process, an emotional healing process to deal with that emotion. Then it's resolved and then you come back to be present. So it's important to distinguish these two things.
Yeah, and the circular meeting doesn't even slow down. It doesn't even, there's no glitch at all. The 2 or 3 people, they stand up, walk to the next room, you hear them yelling, screaming, kicking, whatever. In 15, 20 minutes, they have smiles on their face, they're radiant, they're sweating, their veins are standing out, and they come back in and they're back into the feelings domain. And this is how a skilled circular meeting proceeds, is that it's almost like a popcorn. This one will pop and they do their emotional healing process, they come back, they have more energy than before. The next one pops, they go out, 2 pop at the same time, then they come back. And that's how the emotional doorways are used for emotional healing processes, and the feelings doorways are used for creating and handling stuff. So I just want to say that right now we're not going to dedicate the meeting to an emotional healing process for anybody right now, although they're available. The couple doorways have already shown up. You were going to say something?
I'm saying that it's 5:15, so I think Vera and I will go for this.
Thank you so much for this. Enjoy the Rage Club, dears.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you, guys. See you, Vera.
See you.
And so what I would propose instead is that in each of your sharings came out this a common issue, and I just want to put it on the table and see about the possibility of you putting your heads together and coming up with a meeting technology that you will use. You can use both online and offline to move through this thing. And the thing, do any of you want to say it? I mean, Eva, did you want to say what it is? I mean, I would say it from my perspective, what I heard each of you say in a different way. Why don't I just say it? So what it is like there is a conversation going on, and there's no way to interrupt that conversation to bounce it around, to like open up, like to say, hey, I heard you, I want to make an offer, or here's a question. It's like you don't have a way to signal each other that now that's enough, we get it. And it's like a way to flag each other or signal each other that the communication has landed, or there's a doorway here, we don't want to pass this doorway. If we keep talking, we pass the doorway, the time goes by, or the doorway stays back. What did you guys agree that it would be a useful result of this little meeting if you made an agreement, if you negotiated between the three of you a way to pop a space and put into a signal for each other that you can do this? So he's doing it right now. So do you want? Oh, good. So I'm holding space. I got the space, and you guys do it. Go ahead. Use what you got to negotiate this. Create a new meeting technology for yourselves. Go ahead.
Well, there's something I want to say.
So I'm still the coach out here. So Nuno, you would be the wrong guy to start talking.
Okay.
So I don't know if you know this, but I already know this. And I'm some weirdo guy from who knows what, but I already know you're not the right guy to talk at this moment. So I would propose that since you don't have the technology developed yet, you don't speak first. So let's see what else happens since I interrupted that, okay? Okay, back to everybody.
I have a kind of observation on your observation, which is that I heard Ben and I talking about that. I didn't hear Nuno talking about that. So yeah, it wasn't something that all three of us spoke about. And I will be interested to know how our observations landed with Nuno, because it's not something that either of us have raised overtly before. Yeah, I guess that's all.
It's funny you say that because I was actually going to respond to that, but I want to still make sure that if Ben wants to say something before I talk. Yeah, so I kind of feel a bit some frustration because I do know that this is not the first time this happens, so there's a pattern definitely. And I also feel a bit of a degree of irritation, which sounds like a bit of angry, because I did on a number of occasions thought that it was that we had all things clear among us, and then when I see that in practice what we do after we have an agreement is different from my own perception of what we had agreed upon. So in some situations I had to clean up some things which were not done, you know, in a what I felt was a mindful way. So yeah, there's a sense in me of this, and also this particularly for the case of communication. For the case of governance, I feel also a lot of anger actually, because since the beginning, and particularly with you, Eva, we have been in this for a long time already, for 2 years, and well, since last November, on a number of talks. And I am very sensitive I try to be very sensitive towards not pushing others to do more than they are willing to do. So I've kept kind of checking on like how much you can commit to this, and I had the same kind of concern with Ben because he's different from us in the sense of that also Ben, you're totally volunteer. We have a bit of funding, of financial support to make this happen. And that makes tensions, that makes some things of these emotions still also flow around. And I've been kind of particularly or acutely aware of how much you want to each one of you can commit, and how that affects me in a way that I don't get angry because you don't commit more. So try to be really accepting that each one commits what he can, and she. And at the same time, occasionally the different levels of commitment have created some of the problems we are facing with governance, for instance, and not taking a step. So part of, for instance, if you're not taking step is for our own dynamics, me and Ben, when we are in conversations, but part is also definitely you need to make a move forward in the sense of saying, I need you guys to help me with this. and we do this and this so that we can then like make sure that you have the space, you know, that it's not on, so it's like a joint responsibility. Yeah.
So the request was for us to come up with some meeting technology around taking space, I guess, in meetings. And I saw you doing some hand signals, Ben, when Clinton was talking, which might be a thing to do, a way to signal that we have when we feel an idea has landed, and we're ready for whatever's next. They looked super effective to me when you were doing them. Yeah, so we could try that.
Just
and I guess
coaching,
yeah.
Eva. So
yeah.
when you're onto something like this, you're making a proposal. Yeah. So that we can negotiate, and so your proposal needs, for us to negotiate, that needs to be very clear and specific. And it doesn't have to be right, but because we'll bounce off each other, you know. What about this? What about this? So you could say, well, let's just hold up our phone, you know, and that will be that's the signal that says, okay, I want a doorway. This looks like a doorway, you know. So I'm knocking on the door, something like that. I just made that up. I didn't ever use that before. But so something like that, clear and specific. What do you say? What do you say if we, when we want a doorway, we put up our phone, it looks like a door, and we're just waiting there at the door. And that would be a clear meeting technology that you would have just invented and proposed for your team to use as a tool. So unless you want to propose something else.
Okay. So were you thinking about I love this idea of doorways, and you've mentioned it in the chat as well. So are you thinking that might be something I would do if I wanted to speak?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that sounds like a good proposal. I don't have my phone with me right now.
I'm the space holder. This is your guys' meeting. I was the proposal. You can adopt it, but you didn't make the proposal yet. So no. I'm the space holder. I don't really get to make proposals for stuff. This is your swamp. It's your journey, your swamp. So you guys invent it.
I'm going to propose that when any of us feel that we've understood a point that somebody's making and they can move on to the next point, that we go like that. And that if any of us want to speak and feel that we don't want to butt in, we can hold up our phones like a doorway to ask for a doorway. That's my proposal.
Works for me.
Well, I actually have, I wouldn't say an objection, but an add-on, that I do feel that it's important to, so if someone in the team, let's say you, Eva, or Ben, just makes a signal saying, okay, I get it, let's move forward, that might not be reassuring for me, might actually cause me more frustration and being angry in the middle of a meeting. But I would definitely be able to cope better if, for instance, you do that and then you say, what I hear from you is this, this, and this, or from us is this, this, and this. Am I right? And then that would allow me to mirror back, say, yeah, that was exactly what I had in mind, or exactly what we had in mind. So if we do that, two steps together, I think it will be very, very useful for us.
Good man, I like the addition.
I had a feeling that's where you were going, and that makes perfect sense.
So I would feel bad, Ben, if you could repeat back if you could actually do it. So for example, Nuno, if you were using this symbol as to say, I want to mirror back to you. This is a doorway. This is I want to speak. This is I have something to say. I want to speak. It's a doorway. It can be that or this. But this means I've heard what you said, and I'm ready to mirror back to you, say it back to you, so you can check. It's an okay sign. This means, okay, I got it. Let me tell you what I got. So you can tell me it's okay or not. So that's what I heard you saying. Is that what you said? Did you guys hear me?
Yeah, we are experiencing difficulties in hearing you, Clinton, because when you speak a bit faster, one word kind of falls on the other. So it's
Okay.
So I was not clear if you wanted actually Ben to kind of simulate, to show how to do this in practice and kind of mirror what Eva and I proposed as a process, or if it was you that was doing that, Clinton. But I think you were asking Ben to do that, right?
Actually, I was asking you to do it
Me?
because okay. Ben was kind of not so clear about what he understood. I just agree. But you would say, Ben, I want to hear what you agree about. And then he could say, okay, I want to hear what I actually got. What did you get? What did you get? So then, Nuno, you would do that to Ben. You say, Ben, tell me what you got, like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Then you could feel like you said.
Ben, could you please reflect back what you got from proposal from mine and Eva's proposals?
Yeah. So using the symbol like this means you don't even have to. I'm saying you go, Ben, talk to me. Tell me what you got. That's he knows the symbol.
Okay.
Right. So what I got is, when we want to speak, when we want to open up the conversation more, hold up a cell phone. If someone is speaking and we feel like we've got the essence of that and we want to move on or respond, instead of interrupting or just sitting and listening, we make the okay sign, and the person who is speaking will then bring their remarks to a close and say, what do you got? Or, pause then and have what they were saying reflected back to them by the person who gave the okay sign, to make sure that they know that they really were heard and it's fine to stop and
Cool. How many of you are excited about this? Do you think this would facilitate communication more effectively in your team? Anybody feel excited about this? I do.
You want to join the team, Clinton? You're still on time.
Yeah.
We have 2 weeks.
Okay. I'll be there next week, man. We are on. Next week we are on. So cool. So now as a space holder, I'm wrapping up the meeting, which was like, we came into the meeting with no agenda. You get that? We're in a circle. Everybody has intelligence. There's stuff going on in every single person in the circle. And we use anger, sad, fear, and joy as this energy and intelligence for stuff that's going on to create a useful result. And so we come in with no agenda, and the meeting is over when everybody knows what to do next. And so the meeting might be 10 minutes long, could be 2 hours long. But when everybody knows what to do next, it's over until the next time you come back together. Like that. And this is a meeting. It's a circular meeting technology.
Ben, can I ask you, Clinton, can I ask you one thing, just very briefly? It's like, because a part of this reminds me a bit of a pattern of taking, of bringing in proposals from sociocracy. And I was thinking, like, if you have been experiencing or using in this process that someone in the team can say, I object to that proposal. And then you have to discuss a bit more to find a new possibility that kind of reconciles everything.
Yes, just I want to have a meta conversation first, which is we've been on the call for an hour, and for an hour, right? And I don't know how much time we have left, but how much time do we have left? Anybody know?
Well, we called this for 90 minutes, so we have another half hour. Because we're calling this a lab and the idea is to learn together, I'm seeing a lot of comments there too. So I think, maybe another 5 minutes in our process, but then I'd love to open it up to others.
Great, let's do that. Let's take that as a plan. So let me just say that there are additional things that we've been discovering that go in exactly this line that don't come from other things necessarily. So it doesn't come from sociocracy. But for example, if we have an issue, like for example, let's say we couldn't have a decision about this symbol or the doorway, okay? And so somebody said, well, there's some of you would be really interested in it. If the circle was bigger, there's somebody who are concerned with this issue. They establish a node, which is like this. And whoever's interested in that issue comes together in this node. And then the node is responsible for researching and making this decision for the whole circle. And then so they go off, everybody goes off, they know they're going to research this. The next time you have a meeting, they come back, the node reports in. The convergence of the donut, the convergence of the torus comes back together and says it's either divergence or convergence. When they converge back together, the node about that issue reports, we decided this is a doorway, this is a, and this is, and then somebody says, I object. Okay, so there's two ways they can object. One way they object is with a feeling, which is mad, sad, glad, or scared, and they have some information that they didn't think about in the node. So then the other way they can object is with an emotion. And then that's called an emotion. Then and people can feel it. You can feel it. You guys never think about this. You're always whatever. Nobody's listening to me. It's like this is an issue. Blah blah blah. What happens is we have everybody in the group has a purple card. Basically, it's like you hold up this purple card, and pretty soon there's 6 or 8 or 10 people in the circle holding up a purple card, and the person who's emotional, they're getting a mirror that this is an emotional healing process they need to go through. So that's a very big distinction that most circles do not have, which is you can use the group intelligence to go, look, this is not actually in the present time. You are hooked. You're in an emotional reactive process. It's time for you to get 2 people, go off to the other room, go through this process and come back. We're waiting for you when you come back. And then you'll be back in the present time and then we can continue the conversation. So, and another way is if the person is having a feeling, then they have information. They have another proposal. So they're feeling resistance. They have resistance. I object. This is called resistance. So resistance has intelligence. Can actually measure people's resistance in a circle very quickly. And you just do it with your fingers. I don't know if you've seen this before, but you hold up 1 or none. This is no resistance to the thing. You hold up 10, and this is complete resistance to the thing. So you can say, I'd like to take a measurement of resistance about this using this is a doorway and this is a mirror for our conversations. Okay, 1, 2, 3, put your hands up. So let's do that right now with the 4 of us, okay? I'm going to measure we're calling for resistance on the proposal that this is a doorway for us, this is a mirror for us, and we use this on the count of 3, show me your resistance. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Put up your hands. 2 hands. Can you show me your resistance now? Put up both hands, put them on the screen. You have to show everybody both hands. Come on, no, like this.
What's that?
No resistance is this. This
No
is
resistance.
no resistance.
Yeah, this is no resistance.
Hey, look. No, look. Just look.
Like this.
Just look at everybody. So, okay, keep your hands up, Ben. Okay, so this is, God, you guys have a total agreement on this. There's zero resistance. Okay, but let's say I have this. Okay, so of all of us, I'm the one with most resistance.
It's a
Okay,
pity, but you are frozen to me. Are you? I think you are frozen to everybody, Clinton. We don't see you move. Okay, now you're back. Wait.
Sorry. Over here.
Interesting, and I have interest in it, but I also have resistance to our taking more time on decision making and proposal stuff. I kind of feel like I want to hear from the other folks on the call.
Yeah.
All right. So I just want to finish up that that's a really effective way. You consult the one who has the most resistance, and maybe they have information that nobody knows about. Just a very effective way to make these kind of decisions. Great. Good.
And there's
cool.
so much we can talk about in proposals and decision making. That's like
Let's open it up.
Come on, light your cameras on.
Yeah, so if you want to speak, why don't you come on? How do you want to do this, Clinton? You want to just let people popcorn here and unmute themselves? I think we're small enough. Or we could take a stack. If you want to speak, let's take a stack since we don't have a ton of time. So if you want to speak, why don't you just put an asterisk in the chat? That's a nice technique.
No, look. If you want to speak, put up your phone. Come on. Use the new thing. Use the new thing.
But I don't have a list, right? I want to see how many people want to speak before we start hearing from people is my proposal.
So Midi wants to talk. I think you can open Midi, and I think we can already sense like a bit in the group when to
Alex and Helen. So Midi and Alex and Helen. Okay, go ahead.
And others, please open the cameras. We would love to see you.
Alex, go ahead. You were first.
Thank you. Just the tone is amazing. I will read what I wrote. In the beginning, I felt gratitude, and I also felt some anger to not being able to participate in the process. But then at the same time, I felt joy for presencing this like fishbowl experience, observing the evolution and the transformation. I also felt some moments, the empathy with your emotions that mirror my own emotions. And I also felt being part of this learning journey and a lot of admiration for your courage as leaders of this summit to put yourself in the middle of the process. This is unique. I can tell you, 20 years of experience dealing with global NGOs is the first time I see leaders of an event like this put themselves in the middle of the hurricane in a process like this. So I reverence your courage, and thank you so much for this learning journey. Also with Clinton, amazing facilitation, learning a lot with you, with all this process. And I already knew your work from Guy Education references, but I want to deep down and learn more. So thank you so much. For me, it was an amazing lab, an amazing lesson. I'll pass the baton to others. So thank you so much.
Thanks. I felt alive with a lot of ever-changing emotions, frustration, delight, because I kept experiencing that Clinton is in one universe, which I call hierarchy, and then those other three people are in a circle. And it didn't seem the people in the circle could include Clinton and say, you're talking too much. We want you to wrap it up. And so the whole system, I got skeptical. I wanted it, I felt delighted because it was fun to try to play the game but I didn't see how the game works. Over and out.
I'll pick up from Helen. I want to say yes to everything that Alex said and yes to everything that Helen said. I've sat with a lot of feeling of frustration, and the frustration in me is that I feel that I am still seeing enacted old paradigm coaching, ordering, organizing, leading, when what I felt I was coming to, and this may be in my own assumption, out of alignment, or it may be in true alignment, I felt that I was coming to see a conflict, three people brave enough to get into a conflict and be present with each other and trust that the space would hold, that the intention would hold, and find a truly organic way through. What I saw in the language, body language at the end, did not feel to me like three people who'd reached some kind of resolution about how they will work together, so much as three people behaving well in the interests of all kind of structure and past ways of adapting and being good people. So thank you for listening to me.
What was not visible so much is that the way the circle, this kind of a circle works, is with a space holder, one or two space holders, and that the space holder position is each time changed. So the next time, whoever was space holder last time would not be the space holder this time, or every 10 minutes you change the space holder, work it out any way you want. The space holder has one objective, which is to maintain the conversation in a specific context. And we didn't have a conversation before to agree on what that context would be. But in this conversation, because we were asked, or I was asked anyway, to be the space holder for this first meeting, the context is radical responsibility. So, and distinctions between feelings and emotions, distinctions between high drama, and distinctions about gremlin purpose and conscious purpose, and the set of distinctions about adulthood and which ego state will be played out. So this is the sections in which I was holding a space where those things would not happen unconsciously. And so you can have a space held in any context you want, but this was the space of this context. And then the space holding position is changed after 10 minutes or next meeting or however you want to work it out. But thank you.
I think Ben is using the door opener.
I'm just curious, Midi, if you think Clinton's response reflected an accurate hearing of what you were naming. And I saw Shulamith, I think it was Shulamith echo something about the style, the old style, effective. So we're getting lots of praise for how you've held the space, Clinton, but also the sense that, yes, there was a hierarchy that Helen named that I felt. And I felt like you just actually repeated the pattern.
Can I just add one thing, Ben? Thank you so much for that prompt, but I would love that we do kind of a flow. Is a big group. There's more people that can add things. So if we go on a flow instead of going back to MIDI, if it's fine for MIDI, then I think others will, because there are other voices that also kind of resonate with MIDI that can build on that. But it would be nice that we kind of continue this lab all together.
Rosa had her phone up. Hi, everyone. Lots of feelings. I feel really, really, really happy to be here and to be able to have witnessed this. Really grateful to Nuno and Ava and Ben. I feel a little nervous because there is, this level of conflict at the moment in this group here. Very, yeah. And many of us are wearing multiple hats, right? Like, I don't necessarily feel like it would be appropriate for Clinton to be facilitating this larger group. He facilitated a beautiful experience for us. I'm going to shift out of the feeling mode and just share a thought. I'm thinking about how there is so much information in the possibility management tradition, much of which I find absolutely fascinating. And I've been learning a little bit of it from being in some workshops with Vera and Chloe here just in the last few days. And so I have just an awareness of how when there's a lot of information that's being given, it can really feel very hierarchical in the space. And at the same time, how fascinating a lot of those distinctions are. I know that at the very beginning, I was feeling a little angry at Clinton because I was like, why is he here? I think Vera and Anne-Chloé could do this by themselves. And then later on, I was really, really interested and fascinated to see a lot of Clinton's very skillful facilitation. And while he may not have responded directly to what Meaty said, I just really want to affirm this is the last thing I'll say. I'm starting to feel afraid I'm saying too much here, but in the work I do, we have an image often of geese in flight and how the lead goose is serving a very, very useful role in breaking the wind resistance and making it easier for the other geese to fly. But if that lead goose stays there for too long, they're just going to die because of the exertion. And so how the geese have it figured out, because that lead goose goes back to the end of the V. And so when Clinton was talking about this thing about turn taking in that role of holding space, I deeply resonated with that. So I've had a whole mixture of feelings and found this really valuable. And again, want to end with a great big thank you to all of you.
Yeah, let's just open the mic and speak. Don't need to ask the authorization of anybody.
Yeah. So I found this this process very fascinating and helpful. I know there are times when people can sit and talk and resolve things by themselves, but there are also times when two people are not ready to listen to each other or listen to themselves, and yet the conflicts and there is a wish to also resolve the conflict. And I know I have been through such situations where one really wishes that if there was someone who holds the space, who holds the hands and take us along, if I'm not able to listen, helps me listen. And if the other person is not able to listen, helps the other person listen. And I experienced that happening in this situation through coaching that Clinton, Vera, and Anne-Chloé did. And yes, if two people are able to sit and listen to each other and speak their mind out, then this facilitation will be very, very frustrating. But there are times when there is a place for such a facilitation, and there have been times when if I look back, I feel, oh, I wish we had someone to facilitate that process like this. So that's what came up for me. Thank you.
I would like to just add that I, over my years, have been in many meetings in projects, especially that were so important for me. The projects were my lifeblood, and have a meeting taken over by an emotional reactivity where there was no measure, there was no space holder for adulthood or presence, or could name the reactivity going on. And this is what has driven me for years to bring more and more clarity and ability into having a context that is clear enough for creative, dynamic, unmeasurable, amazing human beings to come together and co-create without undermining or slowing the process by making it linear or having it follow a set of rules. So and this is where kind of a taste of what we've found far. I'm just glad to have the conversation. I know each one of you has so much experience, and I just want to tell you that it's painful experience that has motivated me to, over these years, try to develop this stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to reflect on a kind of level of excitement that I'm feeling just now, because the process for me was one of feeling, people talk about the scales falling from your eyes, of just like going, oh my God, that's fantastic. Imagine if, I could just say what I felt without censoring any of it. And I love the distinction between feelings and emotions, and the difference of scale that's needed. So those momentary kind of flowing through things that can be just used as information, and then those deep, muddy, mixed up things that you need to go off and rage or scream or cry or be hugged in a room for 20 minutes. And I'm in the process of thinking about how we can do politics differently. And one of the things that I really struggle with is what do we do with the fact that we obscure things from ourselves so much? And wouldn't it be amazing if this was a process that our politicians used, where they would go, hang on a minute, I'm sorry, I can't talk about immigration for the moment. I've got some emotional processing I need to go and do. I'll take in a couple of years. Very exciting, and really love it.
I really enjoyed when Clinton and his other colleagues were talking about the low resonance. Like, I made a note of it, the low vibration feelings and emotions. I find that really helpful. I'm really into a lot of work with sociocracy and other kind of stuff, and I think the range of tolerance and having an understanding that a range of tolerance means a multitude of things. So it's not, and I like this idea of also, I think it's a really important part of transformational thinking, is that moving away from this polarized thinking and really having to actually work really hard, because it's a really embedded groove to think on those kind of like tracks of that, really like it's so much easier to, decide that's wrong and that's right. And so the idea that actually all of these things have value, because the resonance, there's the magic is in all that resonance, in that gift. And I find that also that language of understanding that these are gifts that we're really being presented with changes how you actually see. So it's about recognizing that we are in this old paradigm being very much conditioned to problematize things in a way that makes it feel unmanageable. And so if you stop, when you have a challenge, like the kind of work that I'm doing is about the heart, the head and the hand. And so like I'm very much about heart space. Hi, yeah. And it's Eva and I put together some, yeah, it's lovely to see you. And I didn't even realise it was you until I heard your voice. It was really wonderful. And so I'm really, like, I'm so joyful, like, to know that. And I think, Nuno, like, maybe you were at the training as well. Like, I don't know, I feel as though you're familiar too. and Sheila Smith as well. Like, but I just feel that there's something really magical about going on just now, and this is actually about us realizing there's ranges, there's this appreciation. But sorry, I'm now rambling. I got excited there. Thanks again.
Love the Scottish accent.
I'm seeing, we're coming up to the end of the 90 minutes, and a number of people had other commitments and are dropping off here. I can stick around longer if people do want to continue processing. I see at least Rosa wants to do that. So maybe we want to just say goodbye to the folks that have to leave. There's, you want to hear a quick, 5 words from anyone before they go, maybe, if you'd like? Or...
Yeah, I have to go. I'm really sorry. I'd love to stay, but thank you very, very much, Clinton and the other two, and you guys, Nuno and Ben, and everybody for being here. And yeah, lovely to see you all. Bye-bye.
Yeah, just also want to express huge appreciation to Anne-Chloé, Vera, and Clinton for holding the space for us, for Eva and Ben for being such a wonderful team doing this, and to everybody who showed up. And yeah, just to also appreciate some of the last remarks that came in. Definitely I live with this sense that everything is contextual and we should not get in an exclusivity of what is old school or old paradigm and what is new paradigm, because in every situation we will not need different combinations of things. So thank you everybody for showing up as you show up.
Thank you. Obrigado. Merci. Arigato. Tchau. Obrigado a todos.
Thank you all. Obrigado. Bye-bye.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Clinton. And Vera and Anne-Chloé as well, of course.